The newest rankings are out today, and I'm gonna chalk this up to nothing. But I'm gonna give it another week because the newest rankings dropped today, and I'm gonna be real. I'm pretty surprised, but then I'm not. I guess I shouldn't be because as a Miami Hurricanes fan, you got to be conditioned to the nonsense that goes on within the college football landscape, and you react to it as you react to it. But I'm gonna give it one more week before I go off the handle. And I'm going to give it one more week before I go off the handle because there are a couple of humongous games next week. Well, three humongous games. Well, not next week, but this Saturday coming up that'll have a massive impact on the fate of the University of Miami. And I think we need them all to go in a certain direction to have an opportunity to make a run at the playoffs potentially. I know people are in that mindset where it's like, it's a done deal. We're screwed. We're done. We lost our way out. And you have every right to believe that. And you'd be right to believe that, to be honest. But we have to consider the fact that the reality is that the Canes still have a control. If they have a control in this situation, that's to win their football games. If they win out, they're going to be in prime position to make the playoffs. Is there a guarantee that they will? No, but I will say this: my belief is if they win out and Pittsburgh is 9-2 in that final game coming into that game, and Miami wins at Pittsburgh, Miami will make the playoffs no matter what in terms of ACC championship game play. That's my opinion. Let's jump in right here. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Show Mott. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all continued support of the channel. Once again, Miami Hurricanes football. Canes won yesterday, 38-10 over Syracuse. It wasn't the prettiest of games. I did a live last night at 11 o'clock at night after watching Louisville and Virginia both lose at home, which obviously is a good thing for the Hurricanes and does give you more hope in terms of these teams losing again because there are games they could lose. There's possibilities of these teams losing again. I think the fact that Virginia scored only 9 points in their game against Wake Forest, and the fact that Louisville blows it at home against Cal. So the opportunity is there. There's a series of things that would have to happen for the Hurricanes to get to an ACC championship game. I'm not going to go into that right now because I don't think that really matters for the purpose of what I'm talking about. But let's take a look at the current rankings. And the rankings bother me because if this was Miami, Miami gets treated a lot differently in rankings. And I think we've seen that time and time again. So let's take a look at these rankings. I'm going to pull them up on the screen for you. So here are the current rankings that were dropped today. As you can see, you got Ohio State number 1. Indiana stays at number 2. I gotta be real. I'm a little bit surprised about that. I thought they would drop to 3. Last week, Indiana was ranked number 2, but had 11 first place votes. They dropped to number 3. They dropped to they lost some first place votes while Texas A&M grabbed a few, but it wasn't enough to flip them there. I really thought A&M would be ranked second. They had a much better win, and Indiana had a struggle to beat Penn State. Then you look at Alabama. Texas A&M is third, Alabama fourth, Georgia fifth, Ole Miss sixth. Oregon drops one spot to seventh despite having a fluky win over Iowa on the road, 18-16. Very, very uneven, poor performance by Oregon. Got lucky to win that game, and they only dropped one spot. Let that have been Miami. They probably dropped 3 or 4. Texas Tech only jumps one spot by trouncing BYU. See, this is where it gets really ridiculous. You beat a team by 22 points, and you who's ranked 7th, and you're 8th, and you only jump, or you were 9th, you only jump to 7. I'm sorry, to 8. This is the AP because the CFP could be a little bit different. How? They should have jumped up to probably 6 with the type of game that they had. I know Ole Miss didn't play, but I don't really care. I really don't care. Notre Dame beats Navy. They go to number 9. It's 7-2. Texas doesn't play. Oklahoma's off. They both jump up. Texas jumps up 3 spots. It's like they forgot that Texas got drummed by Florida. It's like they forgot this. Oklahoma 7-2. This is what drives me crazy. BYU only dropped from number 8 in the AP to number 12. Like, how in the world do you only drop 4 spots getting beaten by 3+ touchdowns? 3+ touchdowns. Miami lost to Louisville by 3 points. 3 points. Lost to SMU by 6 in overtime. And Miami drops 10 spots, or they dropped 8 after losing to SMU. They dropped 12 spots. Sorry, they dropped 9 spots, losing to 8 or 9 spots, losing to Louisville. But BYU loses to Texas A&M, Texas Tech, gets crushed, and they drop 4 spots in the Big 12? Make that make sense. I don't care. Again, what does the record matter? Georgia Tech is here at number 14, ranked behind Vanderbilt, who has 2 losses. Vanderbilt beats Auburn in 45-38 in a game they damn near lost on their home field to a terrible Auburn team. And they get bumped up the rankings. It's crazy. Georgia Tech 14. Utah was off and jumped 2 spots in the AP. If you look to the right, they actually jumped 4 spots in the coaches poll. How? How do you not play and jump up 4 spots in a poll? That crap is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Makes no sense. As I said yesterday, I figured that Miami would jump at least 2 spots. I thought it could be as many as 4 because of what went on. I thought BYU would drop to like 15 or 16 because they got slaughtered. I really did. I thought Vandy might stay or maybe stick at the same spot, but they jumped up 2 spots, and Miami's ranked at 16. So they did go up 2 spots because Louisville and Virginia lost. Louisville drops to 19, dropping 5 slots in the AP, and Virginia drops 8 slots in the AP to number 20. And in the coaches poll, it was Virginia at 19 and Louisville at 21. So I think USC is a dark horse in the Big 12, in the Big 10. I think there's chances for them in there. I think there's opportunities that are available. Now, let's jump into the conversation of this weekend, because this weekend's a big, big weekend for college football and determining stuff that's going to be happening going into the playoffs. I mean, you've got this weekend. I know you have Oklahoma playing at Alabama. That's a monster game. And I do believe that Alabama is going to beat them. I think Alabama's going to beat them. I think they're going to handle them pretty easily. I don't think Oklahoma's all that great. And that's a huge game. It's an absolutely huge game. That game is on Saturday at 3:30. Alabama right now is a 7.5-point favorite. Alabama wins that game, Oklahoma will drop. They're going to drop. They'll be a 3-loss team, so I can't imagine that they would be in any conversation going forward. Now, you look at Georgia. They play Texas. Georgia against Texas is where's that game? Georgia against Texas. What time is that game at? That's a night game. That's a 7:30 start on ABC. Texas goes to Georgia. Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite. Again, those 2 games right there are humongous games for the fate of the Miami Hurricanes, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you why. If Alabama and Georgia both lose those games to Texas and Oklahoma, all that does is drop Texas and Alabama a little bit and boost the hell out of Texas. It drops Alabama and Georgia a little bit and boost the hell out of Texas and Oklahoma. So what you'll then have is something like Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, ranked like 6, 7, 8, and 9 type of thing. That would be disastrous. That would be the one thing for purposes of an at-large bid for the Miami Hurricanes, that would be devastating. It would be a devastating series of events if Alabama and Georgia both lost, because you know that they would forget that Alabama got drummed up by Florida State. You know they would forget that. And I don't see that Miami would jump ahead of either one of those teams, presuming Miami wins on Saturday versus NC State. Now, Oklahoma and Texas lose. Bare minimum, they're dropping to 15-16. Bare minimum, 15-16. That's a third loss. Miami and Texas have a similar opponent, Florida. Texas lost to Florida. Miami beat Florida. I think it says itself. Now, people will say, oh, well, all these other, they'll give me a whole bunch of other stuff. Miami lost at the wrong time. Texas has won 5 straight games, I believe it is. I think they won like 5 straight games. So they've recovered from that loss, but it doesn't mean that loss didn't happen. Those 2 games are the biggest games on tap this weekend when it comes down to the rankings. Now, you also have other games involving Texas Tech and UCF. That is the game at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is what's that spread in this game? They're 24-point favorites. Virginia goes to Duke. This is a big game for Miami because Virginia now has a loss in the ACC. It's amazing. Duke lost to freaking UConn. And Duke still is sitting at 4-1 in conference. But I would say that Miami benefits from a Virginia loss more than a Duke loss, if that makes any sense, because they still have to play at North Carolina in a rivalry game and against Wake Forest to finish the season. I guess you can toss it up which way you want that game to go, but I think that you probably want Duke to win. Let me see what else is here. This is now I'm going a little bit deeper into the ACC thing, but I'm trying to avoid that. Notre Dame at Pittsburgh. This is a monster game for Miami. Notre Dame at Pittsburgh. Do you want Notre Dame to win or do you want Pittsburgh to win? And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you this. I think you want Pittsburgh to win. The reason you want Pittsburgh to win, first off, everyone's paranoid about if Notre Dame wins. Notre Dame's 10-2 and Miami's 10-2, that they'll take Notre Dame over Miami despite the fact that Miami beat Notre Dame. You might be right. You might be right. I don't think you would be right if they were like here together. But with one being 9, one being 16, due to the fact that Notre Dame's won 7 straight games and Miami has lost 2 of their last 4, that changes the dynamic. Pittsburgh's now ranked 24th in the CFP. Pittsburgh wins this game. Pittsburgh's going to jump up. Miami wins against NC State. Notre Dame is going to drop. So there you got Notre Dame, you got Texas, and you got Oklahoma. 3 teams ranked ahead of Miami. All of them would drop behind Miami, presuming Miami was to win. You would see a bunch of teams move up the rankings, including BYU, who will benefit a great deal. Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, even Utah, they will all benefit. If it just moves as it is, you'd have BYU go up to number 9, Vandy go up to number 10, Tech go up to number 11, Utah go to 12, and Miami go to 13, just off of that alone. And especially now, you'd say, well, Notre Dame got 3 losses. They're not going to be ahead of Miami with 2 losses, especially since Miami beat them. Pittsburgh is a 10.5-point underdog at home. I'm actually very surprised about that line. Do I think it's the end of the world if Notre Dame beats Pittsburgh, though? Not necessarily. But I do think Pittsburgh beating Notre Dame is more beneficial to Miami, because if Miami plays Pittsburgh and both teams are 9-2 going into the final game of that year of the season, and Miami goes and wins, I believe without a shadow of a doubt that Miami makes the playoffs, regardless of ACC championship situation, regardless, because that means Pittsburgh also beat Georgia Tech. And that means Georgia Tech now has 2 losses in the ACC as well. So these next few games, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. I mean, trust me, if you're old enough to remember the games back in the day when you had number 1 playing this and these teams all playing each other in the final week of the season and someone was, and the whole thing flips upside down. This is before we have the playoff, when you're playing for a top 2. Like it crazy shit happened constantly. Like, go look at Miami's first national championship. They weren't ranked number 2 in the country going to that game. They're ranked 4th. They were ranked 4th, and everything worked itself out because teams ahead of them either lost or it didn't go well for number 2 and number 3, and Miami wins, and I think they were 4th, and Miami beats Nebraska. If Nebraska had kicked an extra point against Miami in 1983, Nebraska's the national champion. Nebraska's the national championship with a tie. But Tom Osborne doesn't go out that way. He goes for the win, and he did, and they lost. So that Notre Dame Pittsburgh game is a huge game. And anything else here? Georgia Tech goes to Boston College. I mean, they should beat Boston College comfortably. USC Iowa was an interesting game for the Big Ten. USC needs to win to stay in the conversation. Ole Miss plays Florida. Interesting game. Interesting game in itself because Florida has shown that they can stick with these teams. Although they got their asses kicked by Kentucky this past weekend. I mean, explain it. I have no explanation for it. But who knows if Florida can go into Ole Miss and win that game? You never know. I mean, it turns the whole thing upside down. Utah plays at Baylor. Utah's an 8.5-point favorite, but Baylor has some decent wins. They did beat SMU. They're 5-4 in conference. They've lost by 6 to TCU. They lost to Cincinnati, and they're coming off of a 30-3 win over UCF. Big 12 ain't that good. I think it's open. I don't think it's cut and dry, but I do expect Utah to win. And those are the games, man. Those are the big ones. BYU does play against TCU. They're coming off of a bad loss to Texas Tech. TCU is sitting right now at 6-3. They're a solid team, 3-3 in conference. Could they end BYU's hopes? It's a possibility. But the whole point of this video is to show you, one, that I'm pissed off. I'm not going to explode yet. The only way I will explode on this shit is if next week Notre Dame, Texas, and Oklahoma lose, and Miami's not ranked at least 13th. If Miami's not ranked at least 13th with a win and those 3 teams losing, there is something inherently wrong with these polls and the CFP. And I always bring up these polls because I do believe, and I'm convinced of it, that these CFP committee members largely rely on these polls to give them their baseline. From there, they'll take it. Like if you just threw all of the names in a hat, I'm telling you right now, they wouldn't know where to put them. Like if you threw everyone's name in a hat, they would not know where to put them. Do you think that they would rank Indiana number 2 if you threw their name in a hat? And not knowing records? Like forget about like if you didn't know the records, like as well. But if you threw them in a hat and then said, now I want you to rank these teams. Here are their records. Here are their resumes. What do you think this poll would look like? Do you think Bama's 4? With a 14-point loss to a 500 Florida State team? Do you think Notre Dame's 9 with 2 losses? 1 to Miami and 1 to Texas A&M? Do you think Miami's 7 slots behind Notre Dame? And I'm just saying resume. I'm not saying look at when they lost. You can't, not with, again, resume, not where they lost, not when they lost. I don't care if it's game 1 or game 9 or game 10. I don't care when the loss was. If I just show you, these are their wins, these are their losses. No dates attached to it. Where do you think Miami's ranked? I guarantee you Miami's not ranked 16th. They're ranked higher. I guarantee you they're ranked higher. Because you will look at Miami's 3 ranked wins, a potential 4th, and you're going to tell me that Oregon, who has 1 ranked win, 2 ranked wins, they beat Iowa, and the Penn State team that they beat has lost every game since then. Lost at home to Indiana. You think they'd be ranked ahead of Miami? You think Oklahoma, who beat Michigan and Auburn, lost to Ole Miss, they beat Tennessee. They got 3 ranked wins, but they also played again, we could compare some to Florida State, sure. Who's Vanderbilt beating? They beat South Carolina. They lost to Alabama. They beat LSU. They beat Missouri. Lost to Texas. Again, the SEC gets the benefit of all these wonderful ranked wins and losses because when the season starts, everybody in the SEC is ranked in the top 25 every single year. It never fails. So we'll see. I think if you put them in a bag and just put wins and losses, Miami would be ranked higher. But those are my thoughts. Again, I give it a week. I'm not going to explode yet, but as I expected, Miami would be ranked at least 16th. They are ranked 16th. In the CFP, I think they might be ranked higher. I'll be real. I think they might be ranked higher. We'll see what happens, but these are my thoughts. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. I appreciate y'all watching this channel. I thank y'all for y'all support. We will be back tomorrow night. Well, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Hurricanes Unfiltered Live. So don't miss it. Hurricanes Unfiltered Live at 9 p.m. And I look forward to seeing y'all there. And of course, we will be live from the stadium this Saturday, NC State. Let's just keep it going, man. I mean, I know they give you cause to pause all the time, but they need the energy in the stands more now than ever. And looking at a stadium that has 25,000 empty seats like it was this past weekend is kind of depressing. So make sure you show up and show out. It's the last home game of the year. There won't be another one. So show up, and show out, man. Appreciate y'all once again. This is Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.